Next project. With the truck pretty much nearing completion now, just putting that, gluing that strip on the back. This is the next project. Now this is Ryan's 1970 Toyota Corolla. And at the minute, this pretty engine is actually blown up. The engine has, like, the bottom end's gone. It looks like it's been rebuilt with a paintbrush, so that's good. But yeah, it has a good couple of bits on it. So we have another engine, which looks like it's come from the bottom of the sea, but it's a runner. So yeah, clean this up, take all the good bits off this, and then put it on there, and obviously put it in. I think I'm going to drop the engine straight out the bottom with the subframe, gearbox, everything attached. Drop out the bottom. Job's a good one. But the main job for this car is not the engine. That's just a side quest. The main job is putting it on air and making a kit for this specific car. Obviously there's nothing off the shelf, so we've got to make a kit for it and change the suspension here and there to make it fit. So I'll show you underneath. It looks very similar to the truck on the front, which is fresh in the mind. You look under here. This is a double wishbone setup with a strut that goes straight through the middle, which is exactly the same as what this is. There's a bag in the middle of that, but same setup. Yeah, so the front should be pretty easy. We need to try and figure out a strut to bolt into the bottom of here and then go up here. Obviously there is like 4 miles of travel above there, so there's bits and bobs that we can do with regards to putting that on the front. So the front should be the easy bit. The back, as you can see, leaf springs. Now leaf springs are no good for anyone. We need to get rid of those. The leaf springs and air ride together doesn't mix, so they'll be going. The leaf spring mount should still be utilised though, so I'm going to make 2 link bars that go from here to the axle, and then they'll bolt through the axle here, and we'll make it just the same setup as the truck, I think, with a single pan rod bar that goes across here or here, wherever, and then mount some shocks to the back here and go straight up to the top mount, and that will be how we bag it. I made that sound much easier than it probably is going to be, but the grand scheme of things, that's what's going to happen. We're going to have to move the exhaust, because that is, well, where the bag's going to sit, somewhere around here, so that's going to need to be modified. There's a little bump stop there that's stopping us going lower, so that'll have to be taken out as well. Cut this seam off here, because that's like 1 inch of lowering that we can have there. Obviously this will be the lowest point of the car. Depends how crazy we go. I think the subframe is the same height as this, so we'll go as low as that. We don't want to go too crazy, but it should go pretty low. The exhaust there, that needs to be modified and lifted up a little bit. It's hanging down quite low. That can all be tucked up out the way. Just all the little things that make this car low. So the plan is to get it ready for bagging, and we'll just sort of hit it in one go, but I've got to do the R&D beforehand. My plan of action is to see how low the front goes, and then what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to take the strut out and just see how low it goes, take all the bump stops out, see where we stand, and then on the back, well, we've got loads and loads of room above. We'll just go to this chassis rail up here. That's as low as it will go. I don't think it's going to need to go any lower than that. Otherwise, I think it might be arse end down. So just looking at it now, it's very tiny, little C10 in my eyes at the minute. But yeah, that's the next project. I think Ryan's driven this car probably a maximum of 100 miles. Just on its bump stops and stuff, it was static, and it looks cool. Long champs on it all around. It looks like a cool car. Interior is wicked. It's a cool little car. But just needs an engine now, so And then I'm going to just take a lot of measurements and see what parts we need to order and get ready for when we do it in one hit. This little thing is so tiny, everything's so like minuscule, and it's quite funny. Taking the anti-roll bar off, mainly because the fact it's going to bind up, it's going to hit the control arm when it gets to a certain angle. It's already tweaked the anti-roll bar a little bit as it is, so that's coming out, strut come out, and then we'll see how low it will go and what's going to bottom out first. But as you can see, loads of room above that, so I'll see what happens on the top here. I might end up doing a little strut top raise above here if it makes things a little easier. Depends what mounting brackets and space and stuff we have inside the subframe mount here, because I want to try and get a double bellow bag in here. If not, mount it upside down here. Right, so stripped it all down, got the bump stop out, so there's no limits there. You can see up there, we're quite limited when it comes to space. So potentially running a double bellow bag upside down is the best bet, because there's a lot of room here around this area. There should be enough room to get a double bellow in this place compressed, so I'm not worried about that, but I get to see like the money shot of how low things are going to go now, so I will show you that now. This is literally my favorite way to figure out what we need, is literally just get the suspension as low as it will physically go, figure out what's going to hit, what's going to foul, what's going to bind up, and then just see how far it will physically go. Then you can take measurements from there. So money shot ready. So yeah, that's bottomed out apparently, so I'm not quite sure what's stopping it, if it can go any lower. I'd like it to be lower, I'll be honest. Just need to have a look underneath there and see if it's hitting anywhere, just making sure it's not hitting the wheel tub above it. Let's have a look. If I get underneath here, yeah, you can see the control arm is touching the spring bucket. So, yeah, that needs modification, because there's clearly an inch or so there available for free. So yeah, my plan would be to remove the edge of this spring bucket situation and just try and let it air out a little bit further. Right, so took the lower arm off. It's under all this crud. This was like molded on. Obviously there's a big bump stop pad there, and that's probably the exact amount we need to let it bottom out completely. So I'm just gonna literally zip that off there and there, and see where we stand. At a later date, I'll then put a bracing back in, just to hold it together, even though I don't think it needs it, but it's there, so might as well try and put it back in where we can. So yeah, chop that off, put it back in, see where we sit. Right, so there you go, that's all trimmed off. That's probably a good inch or so of extra drop, and I think that's what we need until it hits the top of the wheel tub up here. So put that back together and I'll show you round two. That's better. That's what we're talking about. Much better. That's probably as low as it's gonna go. So, yeah. Yeah. That's, well, the bottom of the tyre is just below the sill. So it's going to be pretty low. We're now governed by like chassis rails and stuff like that, but obviously we're just going to drop it onto the chassis rails, and that's how low it's going to be. To get any more low out of this would be a case of like raising the subframe and stuff like that. But I think for this application, this is like absolutely plenty, because we've still got to take into consideration that you still want to be able to drive the thing. You want it to have some decent lift on it at the same time. When you're making something like this really low and you want to go lower than that, then you've got to take into consideration that you also need it to lift. And given the mounting points of our top mount and the bottom shock mount, we need like the shortest strut we possibly can, which is why on the truck, as low as that is, you are compromised with lift due to the fact that you need really short shocks. Once the shocks are short, it doesn't lift as much, etc., etc. So you do take sacrifices depending on how low you actually go. So for this, I think this is plenty low enough. Anything more, we probably only gain about 10, 15 mil for like hours and hours and hours of work. So this is plenty for what we need. You'll be able to see anyway, it's like bottomed out on there. So the only way you'd get this lower is to raise the subframe or like re-engineer everything that is like where this top mount is gonna be. And then from there, the next point of action would be tubbing the inner arches. We're not trying to go crazy. Like this is obviously plenty, it's tuck-in rim on the front. It looks cool. We don't need to go any further than it is. As long as I can get the front and the back matching, and it sits right and it drives nice, then I'm happy with the way it turns out. There's the inside. I never actually showed the inside of the car. It's a cool little thing. This is my favorite bit. It's pretty sweet. Bench seat in the front, obviously bench in the back. That's locked. Yeah, it smells really old in here. It smells like holiday. So yeah, next point of action, drop the engine box out the bottom. Move everything good from this onto there. Just la-di-da-di-da. And there's lots of other little measurements and stuff that I do need to take in consideration the next day or so. It's probably getting pretty late now, so I'm not going to do any more measurements, but that's the grand scheme of things. That's what's happening. Low Toyota things. My favorite. So yeah, it's going to be a fair bit of work. Let me know what you think about the Toyota. Are you excited for this? Because I am. This is what I like doing. So this is a proper bit of me. But yeah, just let me know what you think. Get excited. This, same but different. See you later.